Alright, we are live now, covering a severe weather outbreak, excuse me, across the central U.S. This is going to include portions of the Mississippi River Valley. This is going to include the Ohio Valley, a large chunk of Missouri as well. Alright, we are live now, covering a severe weather outbreak, excuse me, across the central U.S. This is going to include portions of the and then on the other northern half of this, we're dealing with a significant blizzard. This blizzard is going to be capable of producing upwards of 4 feet of snow in portions of the northern Great Lakes region, specifically up here in the I can't remember what lake this is called. Doesn't say. Sorry. Upwards of 40 plus inches of snow and wind gusting as high as 50 to 60 miles per hour in multiple locations will result in blizzard-like conditions. Remember, the blizzard criteria is 35 plus mile per hour sustained winds or wind gusts up to 35 miles per hour for 3 consecutive hours, dropping visibility down to a quarter mile or less for 3 consecutive hours to be a blizzard. We have a lot of storm chasers. Unfortunately, I cannot show them on stream just due to the rules and stuff like that. But we have a low pressure system right now that is currently developing, and this will rapidly strengthen over the next 24 to 48 hours to about 90 millibars to as low as 960 millibars or 970 millibars as it scoots off and races off to north and east. This storm will be capable of producing a widespread blizzard on the northern half of it and a severe weather outbreak, potentially very significant severe weather outbreak. I think this will be a significant severe weather outbreak across the Central Plains, the central U.S. today, but we're going to be dealing with more of a significant severe weather outbreak, especially tomorrow, as we are dealing with a rare severe weather outbreak across portions of the mid-Atlantic, northeast, and portions of the southeast, with a moderate risk of severe weather for tornadoes. But let's get right to the severe weather. So currently we have the reason I went live is we have a severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued for portions of near the Lebanon area. This is located in Missouri. This warning is for 60 mile per hour gusts and small hail, and there is potential for a tornado. There is a tornado possible tag on this. You can see the hail core here is not very significant. That's why it's mostly a damaging wind risk with the storm. So it looks like pretty much 30 to 40 mile per hour on the gust front of the storm. But over the next several hours, we expect this to develop into a very potent squall line, and it will likely have a bow echoing formation with it. And pretty much in this area here, we're dealing with a 10% hatch risk of severe weather. This will be specifically for the tornadoes, and this is expected to be an overnight threat. So if you have any, if you are, obviously people sleep at night, so if you don't have a severe National Weather Service radio, or you don't have a phone or anything like that, a warning system or like anything like that, please do make sure to get so, or at least have the TV on for weather warnings, because we will likely see several, if not probably, I'm gonna guess probably between 10 and 20, maybe even 30 severe thunderstorm warnings, because we're gonna have this line. This line is already starting to develop. It just started developing. But this severe thunderstorm warning is the first warning of them all. Expect 60 mile per hour gusts and small hail, just below the criteria for severe hail. Severe hail is a quarter size hail. There is a tornado possible tag on this, just because there's potential. I would watch this area on this thunderstorm for any potential rotation. Right now, I'm not seeing anything. There could be a very broad rotation here, but it's nothing to be concerned about. But it is okay. All right, they have just issued a tornado watch for this area now. The tornado threat is elevated. There's now a tornado watch issued for southern Illinois, and southwestern portions of Missouri.
looking at about an inch or 2 inches. The mountains.
Apologize for that. Alright, back to the severe weather. So this is what we've been talking about all week long. So before we go any further, I just want to kind of go over the latest mesoscale discussions. Latest mesoscale discussions are on the bottom left of your screen above the timestamp, and the severe weather risk is on the bottom right of your screen. We have probably the largest enhanced risk of severe weather I've ever seen, ever issued for the United States. The primary threats are going to be the potential for EF2 plus tornadoes, and that is a hatch region. That is the second image. The third image coming up here is the damaging wind risk. It is at a 45% risk, I believe, and then the hail risk is the lowest of them all, which makes sense because this is a squall line. If you're going to have hail, you're going to want to have more discrete or more supercell thunderstorms that are more organized in nature or more separation. But you'll notice, interestingly enough, that they've expanded the marginal risk of severe weather farther to the along the southeast coastline for tornadoes, hail, and obviously damaging winds. They're all a low risk at this point. Just issued, we have a severe thunderstorm warning just issued for portions of Springdale, Arkansas. This is for 60-mile-per-hour gusts and quarter-sized hail. Seek shelter immediately if you're in a storm. We look like we have a pretty decent hail core in this storm already. If you see purple like that, not good. Likely hailstorm coming. I don't know why my radar is not working. This storm is moving off to the north and east. We'll see this gust front, how we're dealing with it. So the radar velocity is not doing a great job with showing the gust front, but any storm like this will have a gust front. Any thunderstorm has a gust front, most of them anyways, especially the severe ones or strong ones. So expect like 60-mile-per-hour gusts and quarter-sized hail. Not enough to really significantly damage anything, but the wind will be the primary risk with this storm. But hail is definitely a thing as well. We can take a look at the probabilities for the tornado watch if they actually have it here. Okay. Alright, we do have probability. So the good thing is the tornado threat is lower on this, and I kind of expected that, to be honest, because where we are up here in portions of Missouri in the northern half of the central U.S., you're kind of in the corridor of not less wind shear, but less favorable environment for tornadoes. But the main hazards here are going to be for the the damaging wind risk, as well as the potential. Oh, actually, I apologize for the EF2 plus tornadoes, and obviously that leads to a 70% chance. The maximum wind is for 65 knots. I believe that goes around 68 miles per hour, and then also the potential for a 1.5 size hail. So definitely damaging hail. But things are just getting going. The one thing I want to say about this right now, oh, look at this. We're already starting to see development happening in ports ahead of the front, which is quite interesting because that was not forecasted originally. The HRR model and pretty much all the models got this wrong by about an hour. This line of storms was supposed to develop about an hour ago, but it's all right. It's starting to develop now. Let's move on to the winter aspect of this. Obviously, we have blizzard warnings issued for the entire upper plains, well, most of it anyways, and the Great Lakes region. And all these blizzard warnings are mostly for gusts between 50 and 60 miles per hour. The blizzard is actually almost over. I didn't realize that. And this particular blizzard warning in portions of the Howard counties of whatever state this is expect 3 to 5 additional more inches of snow, but the winds will be the primary threat, and this will cause tree damage, obviously, because you have that snow accumulating on tree branches, and all it takes is a 50 to 55 mile per hour gust to cause some damage. You would be looking at more extreme damage if it was 60 miles per hour, but 55 miles per hour will do it. Looking at the overall picture here, if it will load. So yeah, here we go. Here's the storm, pretty much as we expected. So we have a large winter storm on the northern half of the storm, and it's gonna kind of, so the low pressure system is located back here. This is gonna take kind of a turn like this, and as it does so, it is gonna drop about 980 millibars to about 970 millibars as it gets farther into portions of Canada up here. So the winter storm aspect of it is there's a little bit of dry slotting here as well. So maybe some areas are not seeing as much snow, but that's all right. Heavy snow is falling in portions of Canada, locally very heavy snow in some portions. Um, I'm interested to see how many snow reports we have. We have a mesoscale discussion over here for the potential for heavy snow. Here's the leaning back edge of it here. We got a nice little snow band setting up on the back end of it. This probably is reaching rates between 1 and 3 inches of snow per hour. And then these rates up here are probably extraordinary. This rate in here, this kind of localized area, widespread area, is probably dealing with around an inch of snow per hour. And then we actually have a little bit of mixing happening. This is most likely freezing rain and not sleet, since it's closer to the warm front. But we are just starting to develop this line of thunderstorms, and it's already starting to get going. So we'll take a look at this real quick. So yeah, the storms are really starting to develop now. This is pretty much what we expected. This is only going to increase in threat over the next several hours. The primary threat corridor is going to be between around, I can't quite remember. I think it's between the hours of 4 and between the hours of yeah, around 3 to 4 and 8 p.m. for at least the central U.S. as the line moves across. But by tomorrow morning, the line will be very potent, very strong, and there will be a little bit of a corridor in southwestern Missouri, southern Illinois, and as far as extreme northeastern portions of Arkansas for a tornado threat. That does look like there could be a little corridor of elevated STP, also known as significant tornado parameter. This line will then, we're going to see clustering of thunderstorms develop along the southeast coast, off the coastline, which will promote the threat for tornadoes, and that's the primary reason why there is a moderate risk of severe weather for tomorrow, is due to the fact that you're dealing with the significant tornado threat off because of the moisture coming off the ocean. There will be potentially some supercells that develop. All right, we have 2 views. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate it very much. If you could, please consider at least subscribing. We're trying to reach 100 subscribers. Didn't do so well last time. I'll do a little time check for y'all. It is currently 1:44 p.m. CST, 2:44 p.m. EST, and 12:44 p.m. Actually, this clock. Sorry, it's right. Excuse me. 12:44 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. Okay. Still nothing looking really significant. I think we're still dealing with mostly damaging wind risk here, but the tornado threat should be elevated. It's going to be elevated when it gets. I don't know why they issued a tornado watch for this area. There may be enough wind shear in place. That could be it. But typically, I would think that they would issue a tornado watch for the areas that the significant tornado parameter is the highest. But I find it interesting how they issued the potential for a tornado watch here as well. I don't think it's any higher likelihood if I'm being honest, but yeah, but they're likely going to issue it anyways. Moving off to the north and the east. Oh, look at that! We have a high wind watch issued. We have a lot of stuff going on in the northeast too. Wind advisories for wind gusts as high as 55 miles per hour for portions of central Maine, which is pretty much what I expected. I'm surprised they didn't expand the high wind watch long. Um, oh, this is a high wind warning. And then it's 60-mile-per-hour gusts for the down east coastline of Maine. This does state damaging winds will blow down trees and power lines. I would not be surprised if they do expand this high wind warning a little bit farther to the north and east, like around the Bangor area and potentially in Augusta, because based off of the small scale models or the high resolution models, and the GFS and the European model combined, we have a lot of structure for. We have a lot of evidence that would be appropriate to issue a high wind warning for up to 65 mile per hour gusts. I think the NAM model is doing a little bit of going a little bit overboard like it did last time. The NAM model, the NAM 5K model, is predicting wind gusts up to 65 to 70 miles per hour nearly statewide across Maine and in portions of southern New England, and even as interior as portions of New Hampshire and Vermont. And it's quite interesting how the NAM 3KM model also suggests that as well. I think the NAM model is going way overboard. It's saying 71 miles per hour in Bangor, Maine, at 5 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. I just don't buy that. I think you're gonna just rely on the global models, like the European and the GFS model. I'm kind of leaning towards more the European model on this event because I just think the upper level winds in the jet stream, the low level jet stream is there between about 60 and 70 knots. However, and there will be multiple opportunities throughout the day talking about the Northeast where it's the jet stream is going to amplify and really there will be several rounds of heavy rain that come through between Monday and Tuesday that could bring down the gust through winds. And it would be a likelihood because it works kind of like a thunderstorm. The way a thunderstorm works is with the gusty winds is the heavy rain itself brings the higher wind gusts up above ground level between several hundred, I think it's several hundred miles above the ground, or several miles above the ground, where there's a low level jet stream where the low level winds are just above the surface, where the models are predicting between 60 and 70 knots, which is about 65 to 75 miles per hour, and there's potential that some of those wind gusts could come down to the surface. And I think that's what the GFS, the NAM model, the NAM 3K model, not so much the HBR model or the RRFSA model is predicting, but there's potential for some wind gusts that do approach 60 to 70 miles per hour, and I think the greatest potential for that is going to be in Massachusetts as well as portions of down East Maine. I do think there's the potential for upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour. I don't think we're going to see multiple reports of 60 to 70 miles per hour, and I don't think we're going to see widespread damage just based off of the last few windstorms or through the past several years, as some of the events didn't really play out. But I'm going with the European model, the latest one. I think is pretty spot on. Again, I think they should expand the high wind warning at least up into portions of more interior portions of Hancock County and Washington counties, and potentially even the mid coast. And I do think they may do that because the latest European model run is the one I agree with the most right now. It is kind of split right in the middle of all the models. We're going with about 60 to 70 miles per hour, and I do think they may at least upgrade the high wind warning to a 65 mile per hour wind gust. Uh, but I just don't agree with some of the things. But they're also meteorologists, and I'm not. But yep, high wind warnings have been issued for the down east coastline, which kind of is what I expected. I really did expect them to expand the. They've also actually expanded the flood watch from western Maine all the way across the entire state. So we now have a flood watch for eastern Maine as well. This is kind of like the event of 2023. They call it the Grinch Storm, where we had widespread wind gusts between 60 and 70 miles per hour and devastating flooding, onshore flooding, as well as ice melt and flooding as well, combined with the rainfall. But generally speaking, all of Maine, New Hampshire could be dealing with as much as 1 to 2 inches statewide of rainfall, and potential, I would say, even maybe scattered and localized areas of potentially upwards of 3 inches of rainfall. So this is definitely going to be flooding threat. And the ground is so, I think it's still frozen, but I don't think that's really going to matter because all it takes is a little bit of rainfall and a little bit of warm temperatures for a short amount of time to thaw everything out. And for a 60 mile per hour gust to whip through and knock out a few trees. So the power outage threat is definitely elevated. They have a model that predicts the power outages actually, but not right now. Right now, we're just dealing with non-severe threats. Right now, we're just dealing with a few special weather statements. Most of these are probably for 50 mile per hour gusts. That's about it. If I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be brutally honest here. I do not think this Missouri tornado threat is going to play out as they say. The 2% risk, they're marking the tornado watch in the 2% risk of tornadoes, and I don't know why. But they're definitely going to issue tornado watch for these 4 states over here that I'm circling, because there's a little corridor of where there could be a little bit more organization, of a little bit more volatile environment and more better. That's interesting. They've also issued a high wind warning for portions of um, southern Illinois, and did they also issue it for Missouri? Interesting. That's kind of interesting, actually. But what is this? Is it for? Wow, that's insane. So I think the National Weather Service is starting to realize really starting to realize all of the high resolution small scale models that are predicting. I did widespread wind gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, and I'm telling you, widespread wind gust of I don't of 60 to 70 miles per hour coming off the ocean, And my worst concern is going to be for portions of Down East Maine, and here as well, because we're going to have kind of it's just southeast winds coming off the ocean, and that is a bad direction for areas of Down East Maine. Um, but a flood watch has been issued. This is for um, flooding caused by rain, but that won't be the only thing. Snow melt, obviously, and ice jams, so not good stuff. Rainfall accumulation, they say rainfall accumulations between 1.5 inches of rain. I do think we're going to see probably areas, more widespread areas of 2 inches of rain, and then there will be probably some isolated areas or even localized areas that get upwards of 3 inches of rain. Combined with snowfall melt, there's about an inch of snow across portions of eastern Maine for at least the down east portion of it, and then more widespread snow coverage across the mountains and northern Maine. So I think this is going to be not a significant by any means, significant flooding event by any means, but I do think you're going to be dealing with some flooding, and that could definitely be a problem. Um, and based off of looking at the models, the visibility could be lower too, because we're going to be dealing with potentially torrential downpours, almost like thunderstorms. And speaking of thunderstorms, there will actually be a threat of thunderstorms. If you have already not taken a look at the Storm Prediction Center already, they actually have issued um, a general thunderstorm risk for Maine, specifically southern and central areas of Maine. But flood watch has been issued and high wind warnings have been issued. I don't know why they waited so long, because there was tons of confidence in the weather models beforehand. They usually issue the high wind watch 24 hours in advance, to basically just give you just say, hey, we're watching this area for potential for damaging winds. So yeah. So if you are just tuning in, nothing crazy has started happening yet. It was we're supposed to be seeing a widespread line of supercells right now with hail, especially, and I don't know why we're not seeing that yet. Whoops. Okay. So yeah, all right. That's enough covering the Northeast for now. Back onto the severe weather, even though nothing crazy is happening yet. But just looking at this entire map right now is quite insane. Literally, this is probably over 50% of the United States right now under at least some sort of wind alert. Like, this is literally insane. And then what's even more insane, as this cold front crosses across and cuts up to the north and east, it's going to drive in behind it very cold air. It probably won't get brutally cold, but I think the Midwest is going to be worse, where the Great Lakes region is going to be where it's going to be coldest. But it's crazy they've issued. This is probably the third or fourth time, if not several other times, that they've issued a freeze watch and now freeze warnings for the Southeast. We could see temperatures as low as 32 degrees all the way down to the Gulf Coast again, and we're talking about mid-March right now, which means this is talking about record books right here. Also, if you guys didn't know what these purple warnings are, these are storm warnings. They issue these for high winds that are above gale warning level um, for storms like this. So this one is for 55 knots. They replaced these the small craft, or they're probably going to get rid of the small craft advisory. I think at this point it's useless. The storm warning here for 50 knots, but it's interesting how you have 30 to 40 knot wind gusts. This is probably more in the lines of 35 to 45 miles per hour. But it's interesting how you only have 50 knots. I find that interesting. Because typically with 30, 40 miles per hour wind gusts, or sorry, sustained winds, you have wind gusts approaching if 50, if not 60 miles per hour, or actually 60 to 70 miles per hour. Typically it's with say 20 to 30 mile per hour wind, it's probably wind gusts more closer to 50 miles per hour. But when you're talking about sustained winds between 30 and 40 miles per hour, which alone is cranking, it's usually 10 to 20 miles per hour higher than that. So you're probably talking more of 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts. I do think they may issue a the high wind warning for mid-coast Maine and down into southern Maine, because why not? Because you already have a high wind watch here, or this may be a high wind warning now. This is still a high wind watch. It's funny how they issue a high wind warning in down East Maine before they issue a high wind warning in Massachusetts. Not only is it closer, but it's also to be more expected. I wonder how high these winds are in the storm warning. 50 knots, crazy stuff. So yeah, definitely going to be some onshore flooding for sure. How's this blizzard panning out anyways? We still have this mesoscale discussion, which I don't know why they haven't gotten rid of yet. But these dew points are so probably the snowfall ratio is like pretty high, which means a high fluff factor, because these temperatures, I don't know how high these temperatures are, but we're starting to see some localized mixing here happening in Michigan and portions of Canada as well. This is likely following this freezing rain. You can kind of see it mixing here, mixture of sleet, freezing rain. It could actually be significant. Like, I don't know how significant, but I'm going to guess between maybe as much as a quarter inch, which alone enough with 50 mile per hour wind gusts is going to cause some issues. Is this a new severe thunderstorm warning? It's not. But yeah, things are starting to get going, and it looks worse on the winter weather radar on the Radar Omega app, but it's not as worse as it actually looks. You'll see what I mean here. We're only dealing with a line of thunderstorms, and there's not a whole ton of lightning with this system as well, but there's some pockets of lightning. But it's starting to develop. Are we starting to get our first supercell starting to develop here? No rotation on that storm, which is a good thing. But yeah, and then behind it, these winds are going to be howling because you have strong tight gradients between the isobars. This expires in 5 hours. 65 mile per wind gust, which should be issued for down East Maine, but we'll see if they do it. Regardless, high wind warnings have been issued for Ohio now, as well as Indiana, for wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Yet again, crazy stuff. I don't think I've ever seen a high wind warning issued for portions of the central U.S. and for a long time. And okay, they have now issued a tornado watch, or was this just previously issued and I didn't even realize? Why is it not? This is clearly a tornado watch. I don't know why it's not showing up. Interesting. Besides the fact, yep, there you go. Actually, that color's slightly off. My bad. Don't think there's any reason to really put a tornado watch down here, but the National Weather Service is the professional, so we'll just have to agree with them. Wind advisories expand all the way as just unbelievable, honestly. So yeah, I gotta do something real quick because this flood watch has just been issued. Yeah, so Maine is gonna get absolutely drenched with rain for Monday to Tuesday, like literally drenched. 1 to 3 inches of rain easily. For some reason, I don't know. Have they issued a flood watch for? Okay, so they didn't issue the flood watch for northern Maine, which makes sense because that is the least likely area to see 1 to 2 inches of rain. Mm. 8 views. We're cranking now. 86 subscribers still. Again, another reminder. We're trying to reach 100 subscribers. We're only 14 off. So subscribe if you can. Very much appreciated. Sorry for being silent. I'm kind of doing just multitasking here. All right. Back to the severe weather. Yeah, I would watch for mid-coast Maine, interior down east Maine for the high wind warning to be expanded because the GFS and the European model are basically on the same page right now with at least wind gusts as high as 60 to 70 miles per hour. Still watching the severe thunderstorm up in portions of Tuscumba, Missouri. Still just 60-mile per hour wind gusts and small hail. They have now removed the tornado possible label, which is always a good thing. This is kind of a good thing, actually. Um, oh, I'll get to that severe thunderstorm warning in just a second. We now have this clustering here of just rain ahead of it. This is a good thing, and I'll tell you why. Because the more convection you get out ahead of this line that is just widespread without like really any severe criteria whatsoever is going to limit the severe weather threat more and more. Well, especially the tornado threat, but when severe thunderstorm warning has just been issued for Branson, Missouri for 60-mile per hour gusts and quarter-sized hail. Not a very big hail core, but it's probably hail. There's probably some hail in here, up to quarter-inch sized hail. And this is moving to the north and northeast at how fast? Let's see. At 50 miles per hour. So these storms are ripping. And the reason they're ripping is because the wind environment is insane. As I made in my forecast, the winds, the upper level winds and the lower level winds are cranking. That is why pretty much the entire United States is under some sort of wind alert, because the upper level winds, or sorry, the lower level winds are ripping. Blizzard warnings still remain in effect. These are gonna. I wouldn't be shocked if actually they may just keep this blizzard warning in effect for portions out of this area here through Marshall, Watertown, down through Yankton and Huron, just because of the snowfall on the ground. And all you need is a blizzard warning does not get defined by snowfall; it gets defined by the winds and how they reduce the visibility over 3 consecutive hours. So yeah, they probably keep the blizzard warning just because of that. However, yeah. So yeah, this is going to be a wild stretch. We at least will see consistent updates with the H4R model. We're already starting to see these this kind of like when you start seeing this kind of wiggle line and stuff like that within the thunderstorms, you're starting to get what's called a QCLS tornado threat. You can see the shape of it sometimes. This is going to be mostly a QCLS tornado threat, which means rotation embedded within the line of thunderstorms. And this will turn into a bowing segment. You can almost see it already. I mean, it's kind of bowing out, not crazy bowing out, but it's starting to. And we will be live tonight as well, at least I hope. The European, the H4R model for the AT&T has just come out. I'm gonna take a look at it real quick. Let me see here. Also, yeah, forgot to mention that there's also the potential for thunderstorms in the Northeast, even if there is a tad of instability, of instability. The Cape values are within 100 to 300 joules per kilogram, which is just enough instability for some localized thunderstorms. And I think the greatest risk of thunderstorms is going to be for this area right here. I don't think they're going to be severe. However, there is wind shear. So could they issue amount of risk? Maybe. I don't know yet, though. So this is now, okay. I think this is just colors on top of colors. I think this is just the, okay, now they've issued a tornado watch. Or, I can't tell anymore. But tornado watches have been extended farther down to the south. I don't know why they did that, because the line is barely going to make it all the way down here, but yeah, see, the line barely even makes it down here, so I don't even know why they really issued a tornado watch for this area to begin with. But we'll continue to watch these thunderstorms as they develop, see if there's any rotation within them. This is looking like a pretty good hailstorm moving through portions of Kimberling City in Missouri. But anytime you get these kind of supercells here, this is going to be a problem, and this may be the only factor that limits the actual potential for for tornadoes. This may just completely erase it. Is how much is how much convection is happening out ahead of it. I mean, if you just have widespread showers inside of this line of thunderstorms, it's going to weaken it. The only thing really keeping it alive is the lower level winds, keeping it at a severe weather for interesting. So they've issued a severe mesoscale discussion for portions of Florida. That is interesting. Do they even have a severe weather risk for that area? Oh, they do. But why wouldn't they issue it for? It would likely be for hail if it were to be issued. But we actually have two areas of concern for tornadoes. If I can remember what I just saw, a 10% hatch risk here, and then yet another 10% hatch risk somewhere up in here. I can't remember exactly where I saw it, but high wind warnings have been issued, and believe it or not, in Ohio yesterday, we saw 77 mile per hour wind gusts that was reported. Insane stuff. Look at all this damage here, all from winds. This is just crazy. Let me see if there was any rain. But there was rain, but it's not severe, so likely just saw damaging wind gusts. That is crazy. Still watching this line of thunderstorms. Oh, never mind. That's not a news tube. I was showing that was still there. So yeah, we're getting that southerly flow now. We're getting that input from the Gulf of Mexico. Again, one more forecast discussion. Kind of this line is, yep, located back here. True, that way too big, but it's all right. Then you got an extended warm front that is way up here. This is going to go to the northeast, and it is going to strengthen as it does so, and it is the primary reason why there's high wind warnings for the northeast right now. And it is going to drag in and pull in moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, tons of moisture. That is going to lead to this potential severe weather outbreak. How this line is racing though. So, yeah. It should start to bow out when it gets within another 50 miles or so. It should start to bow out. But talking about the moderate risk of severe weather, let me get to that real quick. I'll pull out a new tab here. We got to talk about this moderate risk of severe weather. It's crazy. Here it is. So, let me go back to this. So we have a tornado. This is crazy. So we have a moderate risk for severe weather for the Central Carolinas, extending all the way almost into Pennsylvania, which is crazy for this time of year because this really should not be happening this time of year. We have not even kidding you, a 60% hatch risk of damaging winds. So this is going to be crazy, and this is for Monday into Tuesday. A 15% risk of tornadoes and a hail risk of 15%. Just crazy stuff. So yeah, I have pretty sure we'll be live from Monday to Tuesday, although not sure if I will be specifically because I'm going to be. I don't know if I'm going to be live for that because I'm going to be mostly monitoring the damaging wind risks. But yeah, the HRR model is doing fairly well right now, picking up on the extra convection ahead of the line, the thunderstorms. As far as the HRR model is saying that's going to dissipate, and then the line of thunderstorms is really going to get going later this afternoon, and then just really pump through the Kentucky and Tennessee. I do not know if I'll be live that long, but wow, that's crazy. I'll probably be live until later tonight, but I want the latest updated significant tornado parameters are elevated actually where that convection is happening, which is, makes sense. But it should really start to increase over the next couple of hours, and it is going to be substantial in portions of the West Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And we may even have a little bit of a tornado threat happen down in portions of Georgia later tonight. Actually, if we can get supercells to develop, there could be a little bit of a tornado threat down there as well. We have 14 views. Thank you. Appreciate it. We are trying to hit 100 subscribers. If you could subscribe, that would be very much appreciated. And liking would be as well. So while we wait for this severe weather risk really to get going, we can take a look at the models real quick. Let me just figure out how I want to do this. They're likely going to issue the high wind warning for mid-coast and southern Maine, I would expect, within the next couple of hours. Don't even know why they issued the wind advisory to begin with. Okay, Boston, no, still not, apparently. Okay, interesting. Still no confirmation for a high wind warning in portions of southern New England, which is interesting because that should have been the first one to be issued. Give me 1 second, hold on. Hello? Yeah. No. Shut the hell up. Oh, that was me. wrong, buddy? Oh. I'll let her know. All right, we're back. Anything crazy happened yet? Ton of lightning with these storms already. Tons of lightning. So the atmosphere is definitely on fire. Decent little hailstorm. It's actually developing a little bit of something here. Okay. They have removed the mesoscale discussion, or did they remove it from literally everything? This thunderstorm is gusty 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. I'm going to see if we can get some cameras on this one. Taneyville. Okay. I don't know why it takes so long to get cameras. I know there's an app for it, but I don't know what it is. Okay, here we go. We're starting to get that boa going formation. This could end up being a derecho, but I don't think it's going to be. And here's the reason why. It should exceed 200 miles, if not more, but I don't think it's going to have, like, the characteristics of it. Like, let me pull up an image of a derecho on radar to show you guys what a derecho would look like. A derecho is like, it has to be not like separated thunderstorms, but here's an example of a derecho. This is what a derecho would look like. And it just doesn't really look like it to me. So let me just pull up this image and show you guys what an actual derecho. So I've been talking this entire time without the mic on. That's amazing. Basically, what I was saying is we were starting to see some formation here happening in the portions of southern Missouri into Arkansas of some sort of boa going formation. We'll see if it gets warned. I don't know. But I wanted to show you guys what an actual derecho would look like because there's the potential for a derecho here, but it may not have the exact characteristics of a derecho, and you'll see what I mean here. If you look at the actual feature radar and you look at a derecho itself, it's kind of not looking the same. So here's an image of a derecho on radar. I don't know when this was taken, but those other red warnings are tornado warnings. This is what a typical derecho sort of looks like. We had one last year in the Midwest, and this is basically the same area almost. And coincidentally, it's actually kind of weird. Um, Nearly the same exact date um, from last year. This is kind of almost back-to-back potential severe weather slash damaging wind risks. If you don't remember last year, we had a moderate risk of severe weather around this area, around this time frame. But anyways, that's what a derecho looks like, and I don't think we're gonna be looking at that sort of formation. I do think there's gonna be bow echoing segments, like a large bow echoing segment, but it has to reach certain criteria. But anyways, that's that. Yeah, there was, I don't remember. Wow. Uh, Let me see if this looks familiar to you guys. I don't know if there's a. We'll see if this looks familiar to you guys. I covered this event actually, and you can take a look at it on my channel. I already covered this event, but remember this event? This event from last year. This is an outlook from last year, around the same exact time frame. You'll notice not exactly the right date, but it's the 14th into the 15th, which is insane. There was a moderate risk of severe weather issued for the exact center of this severe weather event. And you'll notice it's pretty much the exact same area that's dealing with it. It's a little bit less a little differently oriented, but it looks the same way. So could we see a derecho tonight? Very possible. Is it likely? I the word on the street, or um, the formation of the exact, like, um, what am I trying to say here? There's a possibility. Yes, there's a possibility we see a derecho. But the characteristics of a derecho is a widespread damaging wind risk. On radar, it looks like a large boa segment of thunderstorms that reach at least 58-mile-per-hour sustained winds, or gusts for, I don't think the hours mean anything, but for at least 200 extended miles. And I do think that's what we're going to reach, but we'll see if it actually gets characterized as a derecho. So yeah, this line of thunderstorms is really starting to come together, kind of like how we thought. Not exactly what the future radar depicted, but pretty much the same almost. But you don't see a whole ton of purples, but that's because I'm using a different radar format. Anyways, yep. Uh, Still waiting on the storm for it to really get going. Okay, all right. This looks familiar to me. Boac Wing segment towards Forsyth, Missouri. This will likely have some damaging winds in it. Up to 60-mile-per-hour gusts and quarter-sized tail. We're starting to see our first really formation of an actual Boac Wing segment. And we'll see, it's got some pockets of gusty winds upwards of 40 miles per hour. So not impressive, real impressive, but 40 miles per hour driven rain is not the funnest to drive in either. Notice right there in that hail core, you have a ton of lightning. And bunch of different kind of boacling formations here. I don't know if they're actually boacos, but interesting. I don't think this is a tornado watch here. I think it's the colors mixed together of the watching warnings. But yeah. So, again, this severe weather outbreak is just really getting started. I just want to kind of basically talk about this next several weeks. So we're gonna hop back into more of a wintry pattern after this storm, actually. So once the storm gets out of our hair and it's going to head off, we'll reach about 960 millibars before it reaches up. So we're going to get more of it into a wintry pattern. But I expect the wintry pattern to immediately emerge once we get through the 17th. And we're going to see cold air dive south behind this front that comes through across the northeast, the exact one that's causing the blizzard and the severe weather event today. And then we're going to see a lot of clipper systems develop, and there's potential that we start getting more like winter storms. There is potential over the next couple of weeks, and really we have to compromise it, confirmation. Do we have the same exact thing happening on the GFS model? We do. So winter is not done yet, and around the 31st, the GFS model is trying to hint at something, trying to develop off the southeast coastline, but doesn't really do anything. But I still think there's at least potential for one last major winter storm for the Northeast, and it could be a blizzard, it could be a nor'easter, or it could just be a regular winter storm. God knows what. But all I know is there is still the potential. And one of the models I look at for long range is the CFS model. So, like, we're pretty much into mid-March right now, which means we're entering April. We usually have at least one last winter storm, which this could very well be it, but I highly doubt it. We're going to get into more of a wintry pattern. The other thing that's interesting is actually we're going to be heading into a neutral phase, Enso pattern, which means anything can happen really. The last time we saw a neutral phase like this was back in between 2010 and 2020, so it's been a while. So this is the first time in a long time that we've actually seen a harsh winter for many regions. All right, we're Seymour. Yep, nice little clustering of showers and thunderstorms moving through. I wonder if it had. I don't think it had. Did it have damaging winds in it? I wonder. Gusty winds moving through. 30 to 40 miles per hour. So yeah, this is basically your time zone right here. So if you make it out of this live and you make it out of this little thing going on, this little line of thunderstorms here, you are good to go for the day because that is pretty much that. That's all you're dealing with. So you got lucky as far, and that's pretty much what I expected. I mean, you don't expect much in the 2% risk. However, you can see, yep, there you go. I was debating if I was going to go live if there was a tornado warning. So we're basically out of the nearly out of the 2% risk when we pull up the actual severe weather risk on the actual app here. Let me wrong one. So here it is. Here's the actual risk. So, and I want to pull up the tornado risk in particular. So yeah, it looks messy, but basically, here's your 10% hatched risk. I got it wrong. And then here's your other 10% hatched risk. So here's the 2%, 5%, 10%, 5%, 2%. So Missouri is mostly in the 2% risk, which is a good thing, which is primarily the reason why we're not seeing any tornadoes because it's way too low of a risk. But the environment is prime right now for tornadoes. We're just not seeing anything happening yet. And we pray that nothing does. But once we get into this 10% risk, which is going to be later tonight, let me pull up the HRRL model for the next several hours. So yeah, here's the line of thunderstorms. The HRRL model is doing a pretty good job of it. Wait for this to load in. Okay, so once we get to about right to about I'm gonna say 5 to 6 p.m. is when we gotta watch out. That's when we start seeing individual supercells move through this 10% risk zone, and then it really gets ugly through 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. And I think that's when I'm gonna stop going live because notice after that it kind of just dwindles. And then I might stay live until a little bit later than that, but nothing crazy. And then after that, it goes into the 2% risk and and then here's where things get interesting. So we do have a risk tomorrow. Let me pull up the risk, and like I said before, it is a moderate risk of severe weather, which means that's a problem. Here's the moderate risk for tomorrow. We have a moderate risk, and that's also here we go. See this? We could have individual supercells or semi-discrete supercell mode, where we have see how this looks much different from the actual line of thunderstorms that we just saw. This is a QCLS tornado throw, which means tornadoes within the line of thunderstorms, basically. And then that moves through. So it's going to be between the hours of 12 p.m. Tomorrow through the hours of 8 p.m. And then it crawls up the East Coast and things get crazy. It is going to be a drenching day for the Northeast on the 16th. One round of heavy precipitation moves through, and then yet another round and another round on top of that. So it is going to be drenching. And let me pull up the wind gusts. Again, I do not really agree with the HRRL model as far as wind gust goes for this region, but here it is anyways. Here's the wind gusts. I keep on clicking the wrong one. There we go. Finally got it. So here we go. So yeah, around this time frame, 16th, we're dealing with wind gusts between 30 and 40 miles per hour, but you'll notice there's localized higher, 52 miles per hour. The HRRL model is just doing a horrible job as far as the wind gust goes. And then as it continues to move through, wait for that to load. Here we go is when the highest winds peak. This is the latest run. So you'll see these yellows popping up here. This is the highest winds. 50 to 60 miles per hour, and you see the same thing over here. 50 to 60 miles per hour. And then along the coastline, so yeah, there'll be pockets of 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. That's what we're looking at. And then behind it, as I said before, the winds are going to absolutely rip. behind the front. It won't be as gust. It won't be as high as gusts, but we could easily get between widespread 20 and 40 mile per hour winds, and there will be some spots where you reach about 60 miles per hour. But there you go. And here's what's interesting. So with the here's the actual energy for the storms. This is what's interesting. So notice there's energy. We have energy moving through, and you won't believe it, but for an area that's only going to reach to about upper 50s, this is for Maine specifically. If you look at the most unstable Cape, this is crazy stuff. Okay, just crazy for this time of year. This should not be happening whatsoever. Look at we look at that. We have some instability, which means there's potential for thunderstorms tomorrow night, which we have not seen in a long time. Look at this. We're dealing with between 100 and 300 joules per kilogram. You don't typically see this time of year. And if we look at the lightning, I wonder if it even has it on here. I don't think it does, to be honest with you. I'm not seeing it. No. But we have a little bit of instability, which means there's potential for some thunderstorms in the Northeast. You don't see it very often this time of year, but and maybe this is just a sign of early spring. So we'll get rid of that severe weather risk, and we'll continue to monitor this actual serious risk down here in the portions of the southeast, or sorry, the central plains. I call it anyways. A lot of scattered thunderstorms. Oh, give me a second here. All right, so here's a wind risk. If you're in Springfield or anything like that, you got lucky. All right, and that's pretty much what we expected. Tornado threat is pretty much zero. But don't mark my word on that. Things can change, and things can change rapidly. So yeah. So yeah, nothing severe yet. Nothing severe yet. So that's exactly why you don't issue a tornado watch in the middle of the 2% risk. Hello. All right. This will get out of here in the next 30 minutes to about an hour. Maybe even faster than that, but pretty much what I expected. Pretty much a zero tornado risk in this area, which is exactly why we haven't seen any rotation or anything that is concerning. But downpours continue to move through. A few more rounds are coming through. Also, I'd like some suggestions, depending on how many viewers we have. I don't know. I'd like some suggestions on if you guys like the older style thumbnails, which gain a lot more traction, or you like the newer styles. So the newer styles are a little bit less of a pain to make. The old style thumbnails took a lot of time to make, probably upwards of 30 minutes to an hour. Or the ones that are kind of the side by side, like very simple, like you got the severe weather out, like um, sorry, give me a second. Like the one I made the other day, like the very simple ones, like the severe weather risk, and then the radar beside it, or you like the colors, the whole thing. I'd like to know. I don't know if I can do it again because it's been about a year since I've done that. But anyways, on to the road to 100 subscribers. 30 views. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. All right, special weather statement. Has this just been issued? Or okay, still exists. Okay, so I think this is the thunderstorm that they were talking about right here. Um, Thunderstorm moving through with 50 mile per hour and pea-sized hail. So nothing overly significant, but obviously these. I don't think it's going to be a power outage threat, really, really significant power outage threat. But as said here, damage to property is possible as far as crops go, and as far as the hail goes, and then winds could knock around limbs and trees. So, okay, all right, we're starting to get a better line of thunderstorms developing here. You can kind of see it starting to develop a little bit better. We're starting to get more of a linear line of storms. Nothing that's bowing out yet, but once it gets to about this area in here, this is where things are going to get interesting. All right, more special weather statements. I guess I'm just going to have to cover the special weather statements now because nothing is really severe yet. More special weather statements down in portions of, I think this is, yeah, Oklahoma. Uh, a little bit of lightning and a little bit of gusty winds is possible. Wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour and penny-sized hail are possible with these storms. These storms are pretty much not really hailers. There could be some. There's a little bit of a pocket of hail here. You can see that white right here. And then this. Okay, this one has just been issued. So this expect 50 mile per hour gusts and penny-sized hail for this storm down in portions of the McCurtain County wilderness area, down in portions of southeastern Oklahoma. Okay, so I'm interested to. Okay, so we're seeing plenty of convection starting to happen here. Nothing really getting going, but this is just um, these are the dew points. So the dew points here, and that's the main reason why there's so much convection happening around. We're starting. I think this is the evolvement of the supercell starting to develop. We're 60 dew points, and what's interesting is this severe weather setup is just barely criteria for severe weather. It is between 50 and 60 degree dew points. Well, 50 and 70 to be fully transparent. Um, oh, that was a nice hailstorm. nice little thunderstorm movement to portions of Jasper near the Buffalo National River and portions of let me see here, Arkansas. Where's this, Missouri? No, that's Arkansas. Wow. Okay, we got a nice line of thunderstorms developing here. Line of thunderstorms developing all the way. That's funny. Into the winter weather advisory. Talk about overlapping conditions. Look at this. Wow. So just cut off the blizzard warnings and the winter storm warnings because they're no longer needed, unless if this is thunder snow. Let me see about that. No, it's plain rain. Alright, since nothing is really getting going as far as the severe weather goes, here is the overall radar. So again, we got sleet and freezing rain over here, a little bit of freezing rain in here, and then we're just seeing the back end of it kind of. This is probably very strong northeast winds wrapping around the backside. Alright, we just have a new severe thunderstorm warning just been issued. I don't know why my alarm system was going off, but this is one of the bigger severe thunderstorm warnings now being issued for portions of Salem, Missouri. This one is for 60 mile per hour gusts and small hail, but there's also the potential for a tornado as well. And this is the storm I would watch out for the tornado. And I think once we get into the region of the enhanced risk of severe weather, or the 10% hatched risk of tornadoes and the risk for damaging winds, we're going to start seeing bigger, severe thunderstorm warnings like this. So there you go. Anyways.
Country, and then it's heavy rain in the rest of Maine coming up from the south. There's going to be an area here along the coastline, especially where wind gusts are going to be more than 40 or 50 miles per hour. You're going to have high tide Monday night into Tuesday as well, with waves near shore of 10, 12, 15 feet. There's going to be coastal flooding and a 2 to 3 inch stripe here of heavy rainfall, especially down east and especially around Bangor, where you're going to have that ice rock and ice jam flooding. For the latest updates, make sure you're following along at Jason Nappy Weather. The strong storm for Monday, March 16th to 2.
Well, apparently you guys could hear that. Didn't even know that. Anyways. This is a very thin line of thunderstorms. Alright, let's see about the not tornado. I'm interested to see. We'll see what we got for snowfall reports. We gotta have some insane ones coming in from portions of southern Canada and the Great Lakes region. Let's see about that. Not literally insane, but we're starting to get some reports coming in. Oh yeah, look at that right there. We are getting reports of 20 to 30 inches in some spots, mostly around the Green Bay area. 20.4 inches. 24 inches in one spot. So Rib Mountain State, Wisconsin has reached 24 inches of snow accumulation. Very impressive numbers. These numbers are only going to escalate. That is impressive. in the last hour, 12 inches of snow in Sturgeon Bay, 13 inches in portions of Apple Valley, Minnesota, 9 inches near Chatfield, Minnesota. We'll see if we actually get 40 inches of snow up in the Great Lakes region. It's a possibility. That's all I can say. We're getting. Here we go. Here's a nice little thunderstorm. It's starting to develop. We'll see how high the winds are in this one. The gust front is quite gusty. 40 to 60 mile per hour, maybe even 60. I highly doubt it's 65 miles per hour. But this should get warned for hail and gusty winds soon enough. We'll see if it does. Nice thunderstorm going up to Barrie. Coming in reports from portions of near Springfield. Yep, a pretty intense thunderstorm moving through Ava, and then we got some lightning back here in Springfield. Is this warm? Yes, okay. Gonna say there's some hail there. But I wonder if we have a lightning counter. Because that's a lot of lightning. Let me see if I can count them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Oh, hold on, give me one. I'm just looking at this thunderstorm here near Ava. Very gusty winds within these thunderstorms. We are talking potentially upwards of 50 mile per hour wind gusts, even close to 53 miles per hour. Very heavy, very high winds. little bow outgoing segment right here, pushing off the north and east. There's some gusty winds in there as well. Let me see here. Little bit of gusty winds, just about 25 to 35 miles per hour, so nothing crazy. Isolated higher. I don't know why they haven't issued a warning on the storm yet. Yeah, there's a hail core right there. Okay. Another severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Gainesville, West Plains, and Alton, Missouri, for 60 mile per hour gusts and small hail. There's also a tornado possible label on this one as well. Looks like it's kind of. Why did that even get warned? There's probably some gusty winds in here, but there isn't a whole ton of lightning with this storm. There's some pockets of higher winds, like 50, maybe as high as 50 to 60 miles per hour, but nothing really substantial. But it's getting that kind of look, but it's nothing. It's getting that kind of look. There is inflow. The outflow is kind of broken up, but there's a nice bow outgoing segment right there. Have they issued a wind warning for this yet? Still no. Okay. High wind warnings for the Colorados, or not the Colorados, but the western U.S. for 35 to 45 miles per hour with gusts up to 60 miles per hour. That will definitely result in widespread power outages, and that will actually blow down trees. All right. Well, the storm that I thought was going to get severe thunderstorm warning is now special weather statement on the storm near Yellville, Arkansas for 50-mile-per-hour gusts and half-inch sized hail. So expects gusty winds to blow around, uh, possibly knock off trees, tree branches, and stuff like that, but nothing overly significant out of that storm. Tons of lightning in this line of thunderstorms right now. Just, well, not a ton, but a little bit. All right, let's see what the. All right, NAM model just came out, the 18Z. Let's see what it says for this severe weather risk. Yeah, I don't think this is going to really be a derecho, fortunately. But the NAM is still going crazy on the wind gusts for the Northeast. Absolutely insane. Okay, another severe thunderstorm warning has just been issued for the Queen. Is this still Arkansas? I think it is. Arkansas and Oklahoma for 60-mile-per-hour gusts and quarter-size hail. There's a few hail cores, well, actually just one. There's one. Oh, there's a hail core. Nice line of thunderstorms starting to develop now. This is what we were expecting. A nice little line of thunderstorms to develop. Oh, another severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Warrenton, um, Wentzville. This is a nasty line of thunderstorms right here. With a hail core here and then little bits of hail here and there. Not a whole ton of hail, but a little bit. This is warned for 60-mile-per-hour gusts, and the potential for a tornado. But I don't think it's that high. I think this is out of the risk of the tornado probability. But we're getting more convection out ahead of it, which is going to limit the tornado potential. this is what you call a buffing segment right here. For all this, some pretty damaging winds, and well, not damaging, but well, maybe upwards of 40 to 60 miles per hour, possibly. All right. Oh, never mind. Very nasty thunderstorm looking here. This one is really starting to come together. Oh, there we go. New severe thunderstorm warning for the one I've been trying to tell the National Weather Service to issue multiple different times. Has now been issued. Severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Yellville, Gassville, and Mountain Home. This is for Missouri. Arkansas. For 60 mile per hour wind gusts and small hail. We're really getting this line to start to come together. Okay, here we go. We have a mesoscale discussion just out for a 20 to watch. Let me get this mesoscale discussion real quick. What? It was just issued. What? That's extremely odd. Well, here we go. That's never a good thing. 100 EF2 to EF4, nearly EF4 tornadoes are possible. 65 to 80 mile per hour damaging winds, as well as an inch and a half to 2.5 inch sized hail. That is not a good thing. So yeah, I don't know why the mesoscale just got, there we go, okay. They just updated the site. Well, now I can't even click on it. Come on. Hello. They must be down or something, I don't know. Alright, well. Anyways, mesoscale discussion is out for potentially intense tornadoes. EF1 to EF3, nearly EF4, 65 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, and an inch and a half to 2.5 inch sized hail. So unbelievable stuff. Now, as always, this could not play out, but the the likelihood is more likely than yes. So yeah, gotta watch this area. Uh, tons. Oh, so the line of thunderstorms is really starting to develop now. News to be a thunderstorm warning here. This is the kind of storms we have to be careful of. These little tiny supercells that develop. Mount Vernon area, Talco, be aware of 60 mile per hour gusts and ping pong ball size hail. First warning of the day with somewhat significant hail. And then we've also got this tornado watch. This is a almost no-brainer. This is going to be issued pretty soon. We'll see if we can get some cameras on this later. But this is right in that area where you got to watch out for it. Well, this is actually perfect. Let me take. Let's see. All right, so here's the HRRR model. HRRR model is not picking up on some of these storms. This is also, I think, a little bit old actually. But here it goes. And then you get the supercell development, and then just like that, there comes the storms through that center, and you can see it if we zoom in here. You got supercells ahead of it. That's where you got to watch out later tonight through about 6 o'clock p.m. to about 10 o'clock. You got to watch out for these. Well, actually, sorry, 11 p.m. Got to watch out for these storms. And then the target for tomorrow, well, there's also another 10% risk down here, which I'm not going to be alive for, but there's going to be a few supercells down there near Troy. And then this line comes up through the North Carolinas with the potential for a significant day of thunderstorms, a moderate risk. There's a potential for several tornadoes, and multiple of them could be significant. Now, moving on to the northeast, the storm will continue to move with pockets of downpours. Pretty much a non-stop heavy rain event for the northeast, with the actual ventral squall line coming through during the morning hours on Tuesday. But there you go. So yeah, things are really starting to get going now, but not incredible. We also get to take a look at this blizzard up in the Great Lakes region. Come on. Oh, okay. Don't know why it's acting weird. There we go. Okay. This snow shield is huge. Look at the snow shield. All the way into portions of the northwestern mountains of Maine. Then you got a squall line of thunderstorms moving through. And then more snow on the backside. Very impressive storm. This back in here, there's these darker purples, probably rates of like possibly 1 to 3 inches of snow per hour, and then significant freezing rain happening in Cadillac, sorry, not Cadillac, Cadillac, in the great state of Michigan, um, and blizzard warnings back here as well. Wow. Well, we will be live in another possibly another hour or two to cover the rest of this severe weather event. I don't think we're going to be live for Monday because Monday is going to be interesting for me. Um, but yeah, make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss our upload. And without further ado, we will see you in the next one. Bye. Before we completely go, I will be back, and we're going to just have to watch this area here for the potential for widespread damaging winds and